We are welcoming today Enrique Rubio, founder of Hacking HR, a global community of HR leaders and practitioners. He is top 100 HR global influencers, and he's a speaker, and he is as well vegan and ultra runner. And he's also co-founder of Cotopaxi, the artificial intelligence-based recruitment platform for Latin America. So Enrique, you are very welcome. And maybe you would like to add something to this introduction of yourself.
Well, Elena, thank you so much for inviting me. And I am excited to be with you today online in this conversation about, personal branding and any other thing we may want to talk about that can be of value and help to your community. So I'm excited about it. So I'm ready for you.
Okay, so let's maybe give a bit of context for our listeners, where you're coming from and where you're now. So what I could get from your bio and what you share in social media, you are engineer by education, and you used to work for the companies, and then you did some startups. You were CEO in a certain point, and then you were working for the bank. And after that, all of a sudden, it's built. You built this hacking HR community and the conference, which is the largest conference ever, as you put it. And so I saw that for the conference, which is upcoming in 2025, in March, you have already 30,000 people subscribed in the LinkedIn events, and you have 600 speakers already confirmed. 300 sessions. So those are like really incredible numbers. So tell us, what was this journey from where you started and where you're now, how you get there?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I am an engineer, an electronic engineer, and I started my career working in the engineering space, specifically in telecommunications. And I did that for about 10 years before moving to HR about 10 years ago. And I just wanted to move to HR because I was a little bored of just working with technology, even though I love technology, but I wanted to do something else. And I said to myself, well, maybe I did a little bit of work in sales. I didn't like it that much, but I found that HR was as close as, working with people as I wanted to be doing. And I decided to switch to HR. So I started doing consulting work. Then I did my master's degree with a focus on HR. And then I started working in an international developmental organization in Washington, D.C. I started, as a practitioner, then became the equivalent of a chief of staff for the CHRO. So it's been a very eclectic journey, between engineering, HR, sales, entrepreneurship, social work, social impact work with a nonprofit that I founded in my birth country, Venezuela. So it's been a little bit all over the place, which I think has made me much better in every job that I have done, because I not only bring the skills that job requires, but also the skills that I have learned in other areas of my life that can contribute to helping me do better work in that one kind of job. So it goes back to, I'm very curious and very hyperactive. And, I like to move fast, and I have enjoyed, looking at different careers and skills and doing different things. So that keeps me engaged and active and passionate about life and everything else. So it's been an interesting journey.
So how you decided to actually build this hacking HR community, and specifically how you grow it so quickly?
Yeah, I started building hacking HR at the end of 2017. I still had a job back then, so I was doing hacking HR as a side, not even as a side project, more as a I want to use my a little bit of my time to do something cool for me and for others, right? And being a technology lover as I am, but also an HR lover, I said, I understand the technology world is moving so fast. I understand the HR world is not moving that fast. So how can we bring these two worlds together and get people talking to each other between technologists and HR professionals? So that's how Hacking HR started. It was just a creative outlet for me to do something where honestly, when I didn't have to report to anybody what I was doing, that I was just doing it on my own, and where I was adding value. I wanted to do something that was valuable to others and to myself as well. So that's how Hacking HR started as a community. That was at the end of 2017. Then 2018, we started to grow a little bit more. Then in 19, we started to grow a little bit more than that. But at the end of 19, I quit my job to be full-time with Hacking HR because I said to myself, I enjoy this way more than the job that I'm doing. I'm very passionate about building this community. We have evolved so much ever since I did it for the first time. It's not just technology and HR anymore. It's everything HR related. And so that's how I created it. And I think it's grown fast and large because we do it for the right reasons. I mean, there are so many people that out there, and this is one message that I probably will be exploring further in the podcast today. When you're genuine about what you want to do, when you are authentic about what you want to do, and that authenticity and genuineness show as you trying to help others, solve their problems or make their lives easier and better. People feel that. People see that. And that's what happens with Hacking HR. I never did it for the money. I actually never even think or thought that I was going to be able to make any money out of this. I did it because I wanted a creative outlet. I wanted to do something fun and interesting. And as it started to grow, I kept that vision in mind of I'm doing this because I want to create a better HR. Because I believe that by creating a better HR, we can create better workplaces and we can have a better world if we have better workplaces. So I've always been very genuine and authentic about that vision. And people feel it. People know that it's true because of the way I put out my work. I mean, don't get me wrong. Now we need the money to continue operating, but that is the way we operationalize the vision. The vision is not let's make money. The vision is let's create a better HR. How can we make this happen? We need to bring resources to make it happen. But the ultimate vision is we want to create this better HR for better workplaces, for a better world. And that is how you grow a community and a following and people who trust you and believe in what you're doing, because you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, actually, when I watched one of your live streams on LinkedIn, I really felt how passionate you are and how authentic you are about the mission, and you articulated really well. And I love this potential of HR to become a trailblazer and changeable. So I saw that you really speak from your heart, and even now, like 4th year in the journey, this is still very present, and you transmit even through the screen this energy. And maybe you can give a bit more details for our listeners, because I know a lot of professionals who are working on their daily job, and they maybe they have some mission in mind and some area of interest they want to go on their own, but they're always kind of hesitant to make this path, to quit the job and start this side passion, let's say, make it full time. So you've done this transition when you already developed something, but if you can tell us how it really happened, how you felt, maybe did you do everything right from the beginning, or there were maybe some, obstacles or failures on the way?
Yeah, well, let me share with you a couple of experiences. In 2008, I quit the job that I had at the time because I wanted to do something else. That something else didn't work, but of course, I was younger, and perhaps I didn't have all the concerns on the table of what could happen if I failed doing this thing. I always thought I'm not going to fail. I'm going to succeed. That's why I quit my job without having that much money in the bank. Then after like 10 months, I found myself with no job. The thing that I was trying to do was not succeeding. and no money in the bank.
Uh-huh.
So that was a very difficult time for me. I went through, 6 or 8 months of, financial difficulty, and that was not easy.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what happened is that experience helped me know that, because I knew back then, I'm going to do this again. At some point, I'm going to get another job. I'm going to quit again, and I'm going to do something else.
Uh-huh.
I knew that I was going to do that at some other point in my life, or many times in my life. But what I knew was, now I have to think a little bit different about this. I can't just quit a job without having any safety net where to fall onto,
Mm-hmm.
and just relying on the passion of thinking that the thing that I'm going to do will succeed, because it may not succeed. And that's part of life, right? I mean, some things fail, some things succeed. But the second time that I did this, well, I've done this actually 3 times, but the last time that I did, which was back in 2019, when I quit my job and decided to be full-time with Hacking HR, I had done two things. Number one, I saved some money, which
Mm-hmm.
I saved it to give me a runway of at least 1 year. I'm very frugal, by the way. So, if you are very lavish in your lifestyle, and you like,
Yeah.
to travel around the world in first class and whatnot, then you're gonna have to save a lot of money. But if you are more frugal and you don't care that much about, super first class kind of thing, but you are simple like I am,
Mm-hmm.
I think, you save some money and you say, you know what, this amount of money will keep me going for 1 year, even if I don't make a cent doing anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So I at least know that for 1 year, I will not be worried about, where I'm going to get the money to put food on the table. So that's one thing. And then the other thing was that I didn't quit to start doing something. I had already started doing that one thing. And by the time I quit was when I truly believe, hey, this thing has grown. Maybe I can make it work. The basic questions of, is the concept tested, proven? Do
Mm-hmm.
people like it? Could I make a living out of this? Some of those questions were partially responded at the time that I quit. I was not starting from scratch when I quit. I had already answered some of these questions, and I realized maybe it can work. So I am at a time where I have the money to be, okay, frugally
Yeah,
for
yeah,
one
yeah.
year,
Mm-hmm.
and I have responded to some of the basic questions of whether this can work. So let's do it. And you always have to sort of embrace the idea that it may not work, and that you will run out of money, and that you will find yourself, at the end of 1 year, or at the end of month number 10, saying, I haven't made any money. This thing is not taking off. I'm going to have to go find another job, and that's it. So what else can I do? Right. So that's how I did it. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm. Very good. So there are three components of this success. Having a passion, and then have 1 year of reserve, and yeah, then go for it, and see that the concept already upfront, and see that concept already at least vital, and you can do something about it. Tell us how you actually, so you're full-time there, so there is a base maybe already constructed, but did you plan from the beginning, like that 3 years from then you would have, like, I remember last year when you had 24,000 people attending. So was it all planned? Did you thought big at that time, or it's kind of happened and evolved like organically, let's say?
It happened more organically.
Okay.
And what happens is that some things end up happening more organically, and the growth of the community and the conference and whatnot, that was more organic, right? I mean, there are some, I did set some goals. I said, I want to have at least 10,000 people, and I want to bring at least 300-400 speakers last year, and those were my goals. Anything above that, it's extra gain that I didn't expect, right? That I didn't plan for, and that will surprise me if that happens, positively surprise me. So I didn't plan for all of those things, but now, I have become. I'm not planning all the details, but I have the vision of what I want to achieve. The financial part of what I'm trying to do is still the one part that is still in the making, but I have a vision of what I want to achieve. Again, I don't have necessarily the full clarity of what each step along the way will look like. And I don't even know if in 1 month from now I'm gonna have to get another job while I continue to build this thing and then to come back here. Yeah, I don't know. But I know what I want to build. I'm very clear about what I'm trying to do here for the HR community, and I'm hoping that I can realize it. Right? I think
what do you want to build? What is this vision? Tell us.
To go back to sort of the origin of hacking HR, I want to build the best HR ever. But it's not just for the sake of HR. Some people call me naive for what I am about to say, but I'm going to say it either way, and I continue to say it all the time. Every HR person in every company is serving 2, 3, 4, 500 people sometimes, sometimes even more, depending on the size of the organization. So your work as an HR professional is impacting the lives of 2 to 500 people. Imagine how important you are as an HR professional, that your work can change the lives of 2 to 500 people. So if we create a better HR and we make those HR professionals and HR leaders better at the work that they are doing and in serving people, then we are going to have 2, 3, 4, 500 people that are better served, and consequently they should be more happier, finding more engagement at work and more meaning at work and whatnot. So each of those individuals, then they go out in society, and my expectation and my assumption is that if they have a better quality of life at work, then that will reflect in their personal life. They will become better citizens, better partners, better friends, better everything. And that is sort of the connecting thread between all this idea of creating a better HR to create better workplaces, to create a better world. So what I want to do is provide HR with the opportunities to, number one, learn what they need to learn in order to be the best they can be. Number two, to provide them with the opportunities to connect and collaborate, for them to be able to see what others around the world are doing, either or whether they are dealing with the same challenges or they are tackling opportunities that together they can elevate each other to tackle that opportunity better and whatnot. So it's all about the learning and the community and the collaboration to create that best HR. So that is the vision. And I want to, of course, operationalize that vision through the events that we do, through the technology platform that we're building for the HR community. And yeah, so that's the vision. That's it.
Yeah, this is very impressive, because the vision is like huge and ambitious, and as you say, because it's kind of going to a breakthrough. So you create the vision, but then you don't know exactly what are the steps, but you figure it on the way, right?
Because, we figured it out.
Yeah, many ways. So how you practically navigate this huge growth of the community and the number of just events and speakers. And I saw that you do this warm-up event series. In LinkedIn, you have a huge number of followers, yet you are not accepting any more invitations because you reached the limit. So you have like 140 followers on your page of the company. And then you have this podcast that for 1 year you were doing it every single day except for weekends. And I'm listening to podcast, and you put your heart and soul in it, and it's well thought, and you have this extract from the speaker. So I see how much work is behind that. So how you manage all that actually?
Yeah, well, I think when you're fueled by passion, that's your gasoline, right? You make stuff happen, right? I mean, when I talk to people, it's funny because they always tell me like, I know you're super busy, and I tell them I'm not. In fact, I do save a lot of time for me every day. I am a runner. I am a competitive runner. Every day I spend between 2 and 3 hours working out, generally running outside. That's my me time. And without that, this is what matters here. Without that time, nothing else that I do would be possible, because it's in that amount of time that I'm saving for myself when I am generally creating things or reflecting about what I'm doing or thinking about new possibilities and whatnot, because I am sort of removed from the day-to-day operation that keeps me keeps me busy doing something that it's more about the efficiency of doing that one thing rather than about the imagination of what is possible as I'm doing that one thing. So that's why when I'm running, it's funny because I'm running and I didn't used to bring my phone with me when I was running. Now I do because I start thinking about things and I don't want to forget. So I put them on an email, and it's funny because every time that I go out for a run, at the end of my run, I come back to my email and I have like 15 different emails from me to me. And all of those emails are, sometimes they are like long stuff that I stopped from my run to write. And some other times they are just like one word, because that word triggers an idea, right? And, like the other day, I was listening to a book when I was running, and the book triggered an idea. And the idea was companies should be doing simulations for potential future scenarios. And I stopped the audiobook, I stopped my watch from the run, and I wrote the word simulations, and I sent it over to me. So when I come back, of course, I write a little bit more about it, and I put it in a list so that I don't forget what I was thinking when I put that word out there. But that time, that's like the core of everything else that I do. Everything sort of stems out of there, because that's when I am only me with myself, even though I'm listening to audiobooks when I'm running. But it's when I'm reflecting, listening to my own thoughts, not having any distraction other than the trails and not falling when I'm running. But that's how I try to keep all these pieces together. I do have a team, of 2 or 3 people that work with me. One of them works editing the podcast and uploading the podcast. The other one helps me with some learning programs. So yeah, my team is amazing, and they do magic, and because our financials and our resources are so limited, all of them work like just a few hours a week, but they are incredible. They do magic. Putting one podcast out every day. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
that's not a small thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So how would your typical day look like? So you would run for 2 or 3 hours, make some mental space to get the ideas, listen some books, sending yourself notes, and what happened after that?
It depends when I'm running. If I'm running in the morning and if I have meetings in the afternoon, I meet. If I don't have any meetings, I come back to the computer and I start cranking out stuff, either organizing the events that I have to organize, finding ways to connect with more people, curate a list of potential speakers for the events and invite them over, schedule the podcast. So all of these very operational things that require, actually sitting at the computer and making them happen. So that's generally about it. I try, more generally than not, I try to schedule all of my meetings for the morning, starting very early in the morning, so that I can have the afternoons to both run and take the time to, reflect on all things that I did through the day. And, if out of all the things that I did through the day, if some of those things, can take the shape of an idea that I can make happen, well, these warm-up events, for example, we already have, hundreds of people registered for those events, almost 100 speakers. That came out when I was running. I was running and I was thinking, wait a second, I am doing this one big conference, but that's not enough. I've been talking about creating a better HR by continuous learning and community and engagement. That the one-time thing is not enough. So I said, you know what? I'm going to do an event in September. I'm going to look for my calendar to see if I have the time to do an event in September. I looked at September and I did 2 events. Then I said, well, maybe I need to add another event to talk about what I'm not talking about in these 2 events. So I added the third one in October. And then I said to myself, in another run, wait a second, I'm covering all these topics, but only there's one panel talking about data. And data is one of the first frontiers for HR transformation. So I need to do something about data. So I put together the event about data. So all of these ideas come up, and I come to my computer, I look at my calendar, I see, what I can put together. And I have the good fortune and incredible privilege to have had so many conversations with so many people in the space of HR that I know this space really, really well. And that gives me, it's a blessing to be able to say, I know what content to put together, because based on these hundreds of conversations, I know what pieces are missing. So I put together a list of potential topics, then I add the descriptions, then I start inviting the speakers. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis.
Impressive. Please tell us, you mentioned those conversations. So what are your strategy of building the visibility? Because you are extremely visible. So we personally never met, but I always see you in LinkedIn, in the podcast, like in the live stream and many other places. And I see people talking about the conference, of course, so you are present there as well. So what is your strategy of building this visibility and connect maybe with people, so given having those conversations, how you do?
I'm gonna start responding to that question with one personal story. In 2014, LinkedIn made available the blog postings for everybody, so the blogging feature, so anybody could post a blog, right? So I had been living in the US by then 3 years, but still English is my second language. So I said to myself, I love writing, but I was generally writing more in Spanish than in English, except for some work stuff. So I said, I want to start blogging, and I just need to put my ideas out there, right? So I started writing, I started blogging. People like the concepts, but then what happens was that years later, when I started looking back at what I started writing at the beginning of 2014, I was thinking, man, I don't make sense at all. Like, I don't even know what I was trying to say, because not that the ideas were complicated, is that my narrative was not polished to be able to blog in a different language. But this was the principle underlying, this idea of blogging. I said to myself, if I want to become a leader in the space of HR, if I want other people to read my ideas and to either agree or challenge them, I don't mind. I need to put them out there. So I need to put myself out there in the world. I know that doing that will, number one, it will attract people that will say, wow, this is cool. And it will attract people that say, wow, this is crappy. And that's totally fine. But that's what happens when you put yourself out there. And that's
absolutely a lot of people just hesitating to doing so because they're afraid of those who are
absolutely. And that's what I tell people. You have to put yourself out there. Once you put yourself out there, though, you are a public persona. And when you become a public persona, even if it's just one blog post, you will attract people, supporters, and you will attract detractors who don't like what you're writing about or what you're saying. And you don't have to please everybody, but you are doing something that most people are so afraid of doing. They are so afraid of putting themselves out there, not for the sake of putting themselves out there, but for the judgment or the criticism that they will get. And again, sometimes I think about my work hacking HR and I'm like, oh, this is all awesome and everybody loves it. That's not true. Some people tell me, no, I don't like what you do. I don't like what you say. I don't like your work. And, I respect them and I say, well, thank you. Goodbye. See you later.
I fully agree with you, because like in our personal branding building concept, we have the topic which is called positioning. And positioning is really pronounce yourself against some topics, what you believe in, what you are standing for. And the more bold you are and the more like unconventional, let's say, the ideas you share, the more you divide people, because everybody would have opinion, those who agree and those who are not. And a lot of people would go out there, but they would play very safe, means just, posting creative content, like here is the interesting article of someone. So they're not putting themselves in danger, and they have feeling that they're present, but actually it's not bringing them any benefit because they're not interesting for others.
If somebody wants to put themselves out there, they have to do it with their own voice.
Exactly.
I have my style, and sometimes, like I remember a few months ago, this guy invited me to his podcast, but he said, let's talk first to just to get to know each other and to decide on the topic, and then we do the recording. And I came across to him so strongly about some of my vision about what HR could be, that he said, I don't think this podcast is for you. And I said, that's all right. It doesn't have to be for me, and I don't have to be for the podcast. That is totally fine. But I can't change. I can fine tune, my messaging, as long as I'm respectful and I do things with dignity and decency, you have a great baseline to keep your voice original as it should be. And I think that in this day and age, even though it seems that the world is becoming more tribal, meaning everybody's like, I'm entrenched in this position and you will never get me out of here. At the same time, the flip side of that is that I think people are valuing more original voices, original messaging, and there's more of an acceptance of this originality from people, and others try to provide safety to them even when they disagree. So it's funny to see these competing values, right? Some people becoming more tribal, but at the same time, some others becoming much more open about their originality of their voice, of their messaging and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I am hoping, whether somebody wants to play it in the middle, or, be a little bit more original with their voice, the message here is you got to put yourself out there. You build your brand by putting yourself out there. Otherwise, you will never get criticism, but you will never get either the praise and the acceptance that comes when somebody agrees with your message. So put yourself out there. Just go for it. It's a fun exercise.
Yeah. So how you were rewarded for this exercise of putting yourself out there, building the community, building this visibility? So what are the benefits for you?
Well, let me give you one very tangible benefit for what I do. I build this conference, right? And I have to invite speakers. That means that I had to send them a message, and most of in 95% of the cases, I don't know them in person, right? And I just send them a message on LinkedIn, and I say, hey, Enrique, hey, Elena, my name is Enrique. I am the founder of this thing. You are awesome. I would love to have you in my conference. Some people say yes. Some people say no. Some people never respond to me. In fact, this is funny. I'm going to give you a piece of sort of a data point of what happens to me. I have 600 confirmed speakers, but that doesn't mean that I only sent out 600 invitations. I have sent out more than 5,000 invitations for the conference. So that means that the 4,400 people that are not there is because they either said no, or because they never responded, or because they asked for something that I can't give them. Like, I don't have the money to pay them for speaking at the event. I recognize that they are incredible and super valuable, but I don't have the resources to pay for that. Some other people ask me, give me the list of attendees, and I'm like, hell no, that's never going to happen. So that's out of the equation. Thank you, but no thank you. It's more like a mechanical process for me. So I'm zero afraid of inviting anybody to my event. But when I started doing the first one in September of 2017, when I sent out the first messaging inviting somebody, I was like, oh my gosh, what if they say no? What if they tell me, who are you? Who do you think you are to be inviting me to anything? So it was scary. But that's normal. When you put yourself out there in that way, it's scary at the beginning and it becomes natural. And then you accept that, again, some people like it, some people don't like it, and that's the way it is. But there are benefits because they get to know you, and they get to know, the work you do. And, some people have said to me several times in the past, thank you for inviting me. I don't speak at events, or I am a professional speaker, so you need to pay me. But they tell me, I still think you're doing an awesome job. So that's very beautiful to hear. That's beautiful to hear that even when they can't do it, it's not because they don't believe in you. It's just because they have a different set of rules, and that's okay. But it's beautiful to know that they value your work, and that's one of the benefits. That beauty of knowing that you are, adding value to the world and helping others. I think that's the most beautiful thing that I've done in the past few years of my career.
Yeah, thank you for sharing those details, Enrique, because a lot of people would be discouraged for, with one non-reply message. But to get those 600 speakers, you had 4,400 people who have not replied, or they replied and
no.
Or they say no, and you just take it as a part of success. And when when someone look from outside, say, oh my god, he has this 600 people invited, so everything is so easy. But no, this is what is really the cost of the success.
And I want to add one more thing in there. Everybody gets the right picture of what I'm trying to paint here. It feels as if I'm cold when I get a no, and I'm like, okay, goodbye, I'm going to the next one. Sometimes it is that way, but some other times it feels really personal, right? When somebody, when you get a response from somebody and you get a no, but the way the no is written, it is personal, right? I mean, there's
Mhm.
no way not to be personal about it. I hate when people say, oh, don't take this or don't take that personally. I'm like,
Mhm.
how can I not take it personally? You know, like I have worked my ass off to build this thing. So somebody's not just saying no, they are being rude about it.
Uh-huh.
So I have to take it personally, and it doesn't feel right, you know. So, but once again, you know, that's like reading a book. You read that page of the book, you're like, I don't like this, but you go on to the next page. And in the next page, you're hoping that things get a little brighter. So for anybody out there, you know, your audience listening to this podcast, that they are thinking, I want to put myself out there. All right, I already understand that some people will say no, some people will say yes, some people will like it, some people won't like it. What
Mhm.
happens when somebody is rude to me? What should I do about it? Well, you know, it's gonna suck, and you're gonna feel like personally,
Uh-huh.
it's okay if you feel
Uh-huh.
it that way.
Uh-huh.
Move on. You know, just don't dwell there. You know, just think about it, reflect about what you could do better if there's an opportunity to do better, because
Mhm.
sometimes those
Mhm.
no messages, even when they are sometimes rude, there's like a little thing in there that you're like, I can take
Mhm.
this as a lesson learned to do better next time, even though I
Mhm.
won't invite this person anymore. But there's a thing in there that can make me better. But
Mhm.
it's okay if you take it personally. Just don't think of yourself as a failure. Don't think of yourself as not worth it because somebody, you know, came back to you with, you know, such a level of opposition to your ideas and whatnot. Just think about it, think what you can do better, and move on to the next thing. And you know, for some people it takes 1 minute to move on to the next thing. For some people are like, you know what, I like, it's happened to me. You know, some people have told me things that I'm like, you know, I'm gonna turn off my computer and I need to go out for a run,
Oh
or
wow.
or
Uh-huh.
not.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because, you know, like not everybody's cool about everything, you know, and that's okay. That's the way they are. I won't judge them. I just know that, you know, when those kinds of things happen, they help me grow, as in, what did I do wrong? How can I do it better?
Mhm.
And I already know that the relationship with such a person is not a relationship that I am interested in building anymore. So anyway, I just want to say that, because taking it personally, it's okay. Just don't dwell there. Move on to the next thing, as you have, you know, broken up all the pieces of information from that one negative experience.
Mhm. And on top of that, I think having the vision and the mission and be passionate about what you
Yeah.
do is helping a lot, because you have something bigger than yourself, and you know that you put your heart and soul to contribute to the making world better place at the end of the day, and that's
Yeah.
what helping maybe as well to overcome
Yeah.
those feelings.
And then one more thing, Elena, that I want to add on top of that is that you are like everybody else. If you're putting yourself out there, you are going to make mistakes. You
Absolutely.
know, I'm gonna tell you the flip side of the story that I just mentioned of people being rude to me.
Mhm.
Sometimes I have responded very rudely to other people,
Mhm.
and you know, when I reread my messaging, I'm like, what the heck did I do? I mean, this not only is this person is not me. I already ruined a relationship because of responding in this way. You know, sometimes I just send an email apologizing and whatnot. But you know, as you progress, putting yourself out there, you will go through all these experiences, and you
Mhm.
won't get it right all the time.
Mhm.
And when you do it wrong, sometimes it's going to be wrong, as in, oh, this didn't work out the way I wanted. Or sometimes it's going to be like, man, I really messed up. And you know, I mean, hopefully you apologize and you embrace the learning, and you move on from there and do it better next time. Yeah.
Mhm. Very good piece of advice, Enrique. I wanted maybe to ask some practical tips, because what you do, you are very productive and you share that writing help you. So maybe you have other habits or routines, because building a personal brand, building big business require a lot of discipline and good habits, because it's a marathon and you're ultra runner. It's not a sprint. So what else you use, maybe habits, and maybe favorite tools or resources you can recommend to our listeners?
Well, the first thing that I want to say is take time for you. Try
Mhm.
to. It doesn't have to be 3 hours a day. It could be. I don't have kids, so that's why I have the
Mhm.
luxury of, you know, being able to take 3 hours a day for parents, more so for single parents, they wouldn't be able to do this probably. But even if it's just 5 minutes or 10 minutes every day, take time for you. Take time to, to quiet down all the noise of the world and just be with your own thoughts. Or for example, there's one thing that I cannot do, which is sit still. I can't do that. I cannot sit for 10 minutes just like thinking. So my meditation, I call it meditation in movement, which is when I'm running. That's when I'm reflecting. So whatever works for you, but take time for you. And I connect that with the second thing: do what works for you. And this is very important because we see so many people trying to have others replicate their models. And I understand when you want to share some principles about what worked for you, but what's not that positive is when people want to replicate those models for themselves, and those models end up not working for them, and they are super discouraged. So get all the expertise, listen to all the people that you want to listen to, but make sure that you are filtering all that information through the lens of what could work for you, because you're unique. And the third thing is just the habit of knowing, I don't know if it's a habit or not, and I'm not preaching to the choir because sometimes I have to repeat this to myself, but believe in you, believe that, you're a work in progress. There's a journey. Sometimes I feel frustrated that things don't go the way I want them to go or as fast as I want them to go. It's discouraging. I think of, what I have in my mind is that I am not worth it, not that the work that I'm doing takes time. So to separate, who you are and your value as a person from the progress of the work that you're doing, it's really hard. But, you don't have to get it right. You just have to be intentional, at least about thinking about it. And what I mean by that is you're worth it. Your work is a work in progress that will take time to get to the place where you want it to be. But that doesn't mean that as you are evolving in that work, you are not a good person, or you're not worthy of doing that, or you are not capable of doing it at all. So be intentional about separating these two things, because they are separate compartments of work and life. So I think those three things hopefully can, guide some people around, habits of, if you think about them, they are all basically self-care, taking time for you, doing whatever you want, filtering all these insights from other people through the lenses of what works for you, and making sure that you understand that you are worthy, but the work that you're doing is a work in progress and will continue to evolve. You too, of course. But if the work is not working, that doesn't mean that you are not working. It's the work that is not working.
This is a part of the success, because nobody does all right from the beginning. And the failures is a part of building what you want to do, because if there is no failure, it means you're not learning, right?
Yeah. And you're growing as you do that. You are improving as a person, but you are starting from a place of, I can do it, I can make it happen, I am worthy, and I am capable of doing this thing. And the things that I don't know, I'm going to learn. But if I don't know how to do them, that doesn't mean that I am not good. It means that I have to learn how to do this one thing. Now, if the work doesn't work, that means that probably that piece of work may not be what really needs to happen. But you as a person, that's a separate thing.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great, a piece of advice. And to conclude, maybe if someone would like to be more visible in social media, build personal brands, spread the word about their expertise, build a community around that, what now you would advise as the 3 top priorities or steps to be visible and build a personal brand, what they should focus on?
Build your own brand by putting yourself out there. It's just an ongoing exercise of putting yourself out there, and your voice may, hopefully it's going to be original, but it's also going to evolve. And you're going to find yourself, 5, 7, 10 years down the road, looking back at today and thinking, wow, that voice is so different from the voice that I used today. But that's okay. That was the journey, right? I mean, you didn't know at the beginning what that voice was going to be like. So it's just that, just put yourself out there, begin the journey, be open-minded to the happenings along the way, and, just get it done, just do it. You will get it right sometimes, you will get it wrong sometimes, and you grow from there.
Great piece of advice. Thank you so much, Enrique. I really appreciate it. And I think our listeners will find a lot of information and good advices. So thanks again for finding time and coming.
Thank you. Well, thank you for the invite. I appreciate it. And I wish the best for you, of course, and for the community that you are serving.